few years, Andrew Sossin. Andrew Sossin runs multiple companies. He's co-founder of an organization called Recovery Unplugged. So stay tuned for this incredible interview about him, his leadership, his commitment toward recovery, helping individuals all around the country, the world, around this idea of recovery. Something I'm passionate about too. I've gone through some similar experiences with family in my world. So we'll talk about that. Maybe some things that Andrew may not be aware of. So I'm excited about that. Andrew and I connected a few years ago through a community called Unblinded. Um, and,
Yeah, we did.
we're both very passionate about personal development, growth, leadership, impact, positive influence in the world, like all great things toward really advancing progress. And so I'm excited. For all of you in the audience, you can tap into this interview at rulesforsuccess.com. We'll have a mind map summary of all the points. We'll have a few other AI integrations built into it, into that page, so you can kind of tap into uh, however you choose the whole episode or portions of the episode, tips that Andrew will be providing, and much more. So, Andrew, good to have you, brother, after all these years. It's great to connect. Yeah, Recovery Unplugged. Let's talk about that, your journey and your journey of entrepreneurship. A lot of our members are growth minded entrepreneurs in our community that I've been leading for 20 some years. And so there'll be a lot of them are the ones listening to this podcast episode.
Okay.
What brought you on this journey of building Recovery Unplugged?
So, it's interesting as you talk about personal growth and the journey. I know you've been part of the Tony Robbins world for 25 years. I've been part of the Tony Robbins world, I guess, 25, maybe 26 or 7 years now. Um, and so for me, it was actually at a Tony Robbins seminar
Hmm,
that Recovery Unplugged came to fruition.
hmm,
And just to take a step back even further, um, I've always believed in working hard um, when I was younger and figuring out how I could work for myself and not others.
hmm,
So I've had I don't know, dozens and dozens of different businesses along the way. And then I started my own insurance business. And so the short version of how we got here was I was 19 years old doing an internship when I was at the University of Florida for Northwestern Mutual. And I made a list of everybody I knew. I called my dad, asked him, my uncle, my best friend's dad, and my best friend's dad had brought me to my first Tony Robbins seminar. My uncle had given me my first Tony Robbins tapes. And I remember going into this guy's office, and he was an attorney,
hmm.
South Florida, arrogant attorney at the time. And he literally told me to get the F out of his office and threw me out.
Okay.
Okay. 3 years later, my dad calls me and says, "Hey, one of my clients, likes is as dumb as you," his words, love
Hmm,
my dad, "and is giving his money to this silly Tony Robbins event. And you and him are both going this weekend. You should see him. His name's Marshall." I go, "Marshall?
hmm,
The guy that threw me out of his office 3 years
hmm,
ago?"
hmm.
Yes. Me and Marshall reconnect at UPW Dallas,
Okay.
2001 or 2002. Uh, become best friends. I'm the godfather to both of his children.
Wow.
And several years later, when several of my wife's family members were having challenges, I was over at another Tony Robbins seminar in Fiji. Made the comment that it would be cheaper for me to open up my own treatment center than keep paying for other ones. So I was told, go open a treatment center. I know nothing about it. Marshall, criminal defense attorney, defending some of our family members that have been arrested, um, said, "All right, I got a guy that has this idea utilizing music as a catalyst for therapy."
Wow.
I said, "It can't be any worse than anything that I've done. I've spent, you know, 6 figures taking all these people to treatment, and let's try it. And if I could put, like my mother in law, who's very public about her story, one of our first clients, if we could help her, we can help anybody."
Yeah.
She's 13 years clean and sober now.
Amazing.
Several of my wife's other family members are, doing fantastic, having families of their own now. Several of my friends, and so that's how it started. Was out of frustration and pain that I was dealing with. But kind of how you started this in the personal development growth. Had I not met, had I not been thrown out of Marshall's office, then reconnecting with him at UPW, gone to Fiji with him, become friends. We crewed together at UPWs over the
Wow.
years, and he's the co-founder of Recovery Unplugged with me.
Incredible.
So And even to take it a step further, in '03 at the Tony Robbins Life Mastery in Fiji, I was 23 years old at the time, about to be 24. And Marshall, who's 20 years older than me, said, Andrew, life is a journey, not a destination.
Mm, mm.
I wrote that down, put it on my computer. 10 years later, when we started Recovery Unplugged, me, Marshall, and Paul, and Rob Harrison, Paul introduced us to Richie Supa, who was a touring member of Aerosmith.
Mm.
He wrote the song Amazing.
Mm.
In the chorus of the song Amazing, life is a journey, not a destination. So I saw that line every day. And my business partner for Recovery Unplugged, because Richie owned the name Recovery Unplugged.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's not the law of attraction, I don't know what it is.
Lots of synchronicities happening over the years, including your dad and like how you went to his office 3 years before that.
Yes.
In your early 20s. Wow, very, very passionate, man. Like early 20s, passionate. When did you meet so your wife? So you got married early, right? And your wife?
So I got married when I was 26, but I met my wife when I was 12 in sixth grade.
Wow.
We were just friends, never dated, but I was around because we were good friends during all of the challenges that multiple people in her family were facing throughout high school and college. And then when we had gotten married, I knew, this is something that we're going to be dealing with forever. And so at the time, I was okay. Maybe I could bring him to a Tony Robbins seminar, and that would work for one person, maybe for 5 months. But I didn't know what I didn't know at the time. Yeah. And then when I learned, and through Marshall introduced me to Paul and Rob, and then Richie Supa when he left Aerosmith, or let me rephrase that, when he was arrested. There's a great book about him getting arrested and going to jail. Clive Davis, because of Clive Davis, Richie got 25 months to 25 years. And then he dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people, utilizing music in therapy.
Yeah.
But when we were very young, we didn't understand it. And then when I started really understanding that people could get better, and meeting Richie and hearing his story, and then seeing, my own family and friends, my original goal was, hey, let me help them. Then it was, let me help 100 people.
Yeah.
Then I had a goal of 1,000 people.
Yeah.
Then I had a goal of 10,000 people. And as of this conversation today, we have helped 22,000 people in the last 13 years.
Goosebumps, man, hearing that.
Yeah, not what I thought I'd be doing with my life, not what I had set out to do, but right next to my front door, I have a saying. It's written in Hebrew by a Holocaust survivor that said, "Man plan." It's the translation is "Man plans, God laughs," and I look at that every day because that's kind of what happened here, and I'm truly grateful that we were able to start this journey. When we did and how we did it, and to see where we are today. We started with one location at Recovery Unplugged. We now have 12 locations in 6 states. We have over 650 full-time teammates, employees at Recovery Unplugged.
650, wow.
Yeah, that's another. I remember when I first started, I'm like, we'll be a real company if we have 100 people. And I'm like, how do we go backwards to 100? But it's been amazing, truly, to see the growth of the individuals. So one of the things that we did early on is I've always valued people for what they are going to do, not just what they've done. And if you take our leadership team today, over a dozen people on the Recovery Unplugged leadership team were clients of Recovery Unplugged 10 years ago.
Got it. So
they came in, they were alcoholic, heroin addict, you name it. They were at the bottom of their life. They got their life back. They put in
and a purpose too. They got a purpose and a mission beyond themselves too.
Correct. But they put in the hard work and effort on themselves. Yeah. And for that, I said, we have the rule that you have to be at least 12 months clean and sober before you can start working for us. But if I look today now of many of our directors that are, 10 years, 8 years, 10 years, 12 years, clean and sober, that went through our own program and are now, living amazing, healthy lives, making an impact of their own. That's something that to me is, one of the greatest things we could have done, not just helping them, but now they have a life, a
Yeah.
career, a
Yeah.
purpose.
Yeah. How important is to have a purpose and mission in life? How important? Like, of course, you and I have some concept of that work through the work we've done, different organizations, Tony Robbins, the whole idea about having identity, and we rise to the expectations of who we've become in our peer group. How important is to have a mission in life?
So, on that statement you just said, when I was 21, two, after my first UPW and my first crewing of UPW on Date with Destiny, I wrote out a lot of stuff there. I decided that day that your peer, as Tony says, your peer group could bring you down or you could bring them up.
Yeah.
So at UPW 03, I believe it was, for the time blends, I called every one of my family and friends and said, everyone, Tony's doing an event in Miami. Everybody needs to buy a ticket. If you can't buy a ticket, I'll buy it for you. And if you can't afford to pay me back, don't ever pay me back. I brought 54 people to that UPW because I decided at that moment that if we all didn't have purpose and a mission at our young age, most of my friends are, early 20s, before I even knew about the world of addiction and mental health, like I just inherently knew that. So I wanted to bring my peer group up because I didn't want to leave my peers.
Yeah.
And I'm proud that I'm 46 years old now, and I'm still friends with literally everybody that I brought to that event. And not that they all drank the Kool Aid like I did, but they could all draw a straight line that went like this from that UPW to where we all are today.
Yeah.
Because we all found our own mission and purpose in
Yeah.
life in different ways. And to me, right, growing up here in South Florida, witnessing the home of the $100,000 millionaire, as I like to call it, where people pretend to be something they're
Yeah.
not. That's always been a South Florida thing. Um, People looking for meaning, looking for purpose. I knew early on, I always liked helping people. I didn't start going to Tony Robbins just for me. I went through Leadership Academy and his training program, not to work for him, so I could figure out how to help others before Recovery Unplugged. So to me, having that mission, having that North Star, having that purpose of what you're fighting for every day,
Yeah.
it it's hard to. There are days where it's hard to get up and start. You got wife, you got kids, you got life, you got what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
But when you have that, it allows you just to keep moving forward.
It pulls you forward, right? It pulls you into your day. It pulls into your week, your life, despite the complexities, the challenges that we're going through as parents or around the world, the news and things happening.
Yes.
It is so impactful to have a mission. And basically, I think one of the things that Tony says, and I actually have this next to me as a reminder, is life is happening for you, right?
Not to you.
That whole idea of taking 100% responsibility for your life and showing up. And to get that at a young age, or to gift that to people. You mentioned you brought your peer group there 20 years ago to an event. All it takes is one idea, right? And I've been fortunate enough, some of my family and friends, some of my closest friends have done this work for 27 years. And to see one idea amplify in their lives, their choices, their peer groups, how they connect, how they relate to integrity, personal integrity, their word, it's meaningful, and that compounds over time, right?
It
And
does.
makes
It's
difference.
we've brought over 250 of the Recovery Unplugged staff through UPW, several of our directors through Date with Destiny, and then with my own I have three children, 17, 15, and 12. My oldest has been to three UPWs, at this point, and two unblindeds at this
Awesome.
point.
Awesome.
So, I, especially in for kids, different kids see and understand things at different times and ages. But for him, for my oldest, it's been transformational in a positive way, knowing that you know part of the challenge in mental health and addiction is the environment, and
Mm.
part of it's genetic,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So knowing that, we've had several of our family members, like half a dozen, have these challenges, I wanted to allow my kids to see things at a young age appropriate for the in a different way.
Yeah.
So for my son Jacob, I said to him, "You understand what's gone on with some of our family members," and so I brought him to the Tony Robbins world and the Unblinded world, but at UPW, so he could understand at a young age what he may battle and how to deal with that before it's a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah. And also see people who are experiencing some of the things that they're experiencing, right? Just for me, going through that process, bringing my family to it, having a 16-year-old be able to be in a room and see that, hey, there are other kids dealing with these crises as well, these thoughts that I have. I'm not by myself. And a lot of friction in life comes out from comparing ourselves to other people, right? Maybe even through social media, seeing what we see out there and saying, well, they're in this plane or I'm here and they're better than me or whatnot. And that just creates a lot of,
it's the world. I mean, it's challenging. Look, when we were younger, you heard the gossip. Now, you look at Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, even LinkedIn, right? Everybody's only showing you the best of what's going on that day. But even though we inherently know it, everybody does that. Like everybody's battling something. When you see that, right, the FOMO sets in, whether you're 16, 26, 46, or 66. And so I think today, now more than ever, people have to realize what is real, what is important. It's okay to want. It's okay to have aspirations. It's okay to want to go to cool places, have nice things. But at the same time, what's the purpose of it all? And so that's where, having the grounding foundation is so important. And a lot of the work that we're doing at Recovery Unplugged over the years is just regrounding people, right? They started spiraling and they got so far here, right, because of anxiety, depression, PTSD, trauma, that they were masking it with drugs and alcohol. That's just bringing them back to, what do you really want? What's really meaningful in your life? Who's really meaningful in your life? And if you're able to get through this, how are you going to show up for them?
Let's talk about Recovery Unplugged. Let's talk about the process. I'm very passionate about accountability. We launched Success Circles after a day with Destiny 21 years ago. And it's all about peer-to-peer accountability conversations. Around that time, my mom's youngest brother, who's like a second dad to me, came out of prison. I don't really talk about this, but I think this is a safe space to talk about this because it's all in that conversation.
Sure.
And I went through Al-Anon to kind of understand what he was dealing with as an alcoholic, with the things he was abusing. All her siblings or all her brothers are alcoholics because of events that happened when they were growing up.
Sure.
But it brought me to a place where there was camaraderie, there's support, there was a pathway out, there was a means to mentor others as far as 12-step. And I've gone through other 12-step programs myself outside of the whole world of drug and alcohol addiction myself. And some of those ideas I brought into building a community. Met with Keith Ferrazzi. We had a dinner like 18 years ago or so.
I was with him last week.
Oh, you were at Abundance 360, right?
I was at Abundance 360 last week with Keith. Amazing guy. Love Keith.
Amazing, incredible guy. So some of the ideas, the conversations we had when we had dinner years ago, I brought into my community. And it's fueled what we do. The idea of huddles, the daily huddles, which we have one-on-one huddles where people share their why, their purpose, their challenges, their mission, really have their day pulled forward, knowing that there's this mission that they have that they can share with another person. I'd love to hear your process. So with what you're up to with Recovery Unplugged, which is co-founding this incredible organization that's impacted 20,000 people, right? A lot of people come back to lead in different capacities. Let's talk about the process. So it's music, their instruments, and
so just to understand. So I've Recovery Unplugged utilizes music as a catalyst for evidence-based therapy. We do not teach people how to play music. I cannot sing. I cannot perform. I try to dance. It's more humorous than not. My kids will tell you that. but we utilize music.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is, but everything is on traditional evidence-based therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, EMDR, DBT, motivational interviewing. For the most part, nobody wants to go to rehab. Nobody wants to go to treatment. Nobody wants to. People say they want to get help, but then they don't want to actually do it. So, because it's hard, because they have to make a change. So we use music to break down defenses and build rapport. And so
Mm.
from early on, just to walk through a process of,
Mm.
and we have residential facilities for both substance abuse and mental health separate. So you have people that are abusing drugs and alcohol that need to detox in there. And then you have people that have anxiety, depression, PTSD, trauma that aren't abusing drugs and alcohol,
Mm.
but the same process works for both.
Mm.
The difference is somebody detoxing from alcohol, heroin, pills, whatever it is. We have sound and frequency rooms at our detox facilities so that we believe in two things. We believe lots of things, but the two most important: MAT and MAT.
Mm.
Medication assisted treatment, which works,
Yeah.
and music assisted treatment, which
Mm.
works.
Mm.
All right, and now I have 13 years of data, an 8-year, 9-year outcome study now from Nova Southeastern University on why what we're doing is successful.
Yeah.
We're over 50.3%, just over 50% of all of our people are clean and sober after 12 months, which
Wow.
is from a third party
Incredible.
verification better than anything else in the United States. Not somebody that says we're the best and we cure everybody. That's not true. That doesn't happen, but third party verified. So what that means is when somebody comes in, if they're going to have to get 20 milligrams of Ativan or Valium, people know Valium, they're still going to get medicine, but they only may get 5 or 10 milligrams, and they'll be in a sound and frequency room to scientifically proven method of calming them down.
Yeah.
So they're less zonked out, and it's easier for them to start actual therapy quicker.
Yes.
Even before that, when we're on the phone and we find out, this is what they're on, this is their medical history, this is their psychiatric history, this is their insurance info, and what music they love, what music they hate, what they associate to happiness, sadness, their mom.
Mm.
And so when they're on their way to our facility, our driver will literally put a song on and they'll be like, I love this song. And the person will be like, it's not my favorite, but I know that you do. And for the first time in probably months, years, or ever, they're seen, they're heard, and what they say matters subconsciously.
Yeah.
We've been doing this now since day one. So from even on their way in, they're getting this idea of utilizing music. Then they have the sound and frequency. Then every morning we have mic check groups, pump up groups. It's not about rah pump up. It's about moving their body and having them check in.
Yeah.
One of the other things that we do successfully, and it's funny talking about this now because we've been doing this forever. When I first talked about this, I had judges calling me up going, I don't get it. I got an alcoholic. They're going to play the drums and stop drinking. I'm like, no. Now they see that it works. But, we have people that when they come in, we want to teach them how to be open-minded.
Yeah.
You could tell someone to be open-minded, or you could say, Joe, this is a lyric. Does this lyric associate to you? And our therapist will find a lyric that associates to their situation right now. They just got divorced, and they look at the lyric. And now we know this person hates country music, but they associate to the lyric, and then we'll play the country music song that lyric came from.
Mm.
And then they'll be like, oh my gosh. And we do the same thing. The easiest example is people that hate country, we find country. People that hate hip hop, we use a hip hop lyric. And then we show them how they associate to a lyric that if they heard in a song, they wouldn't realize, and it teaches them to be open-minded. So
is it about we talk about affirmations, incantations, that whole
Yes.
world, Tony, or physiology, movement, you talk about how they start their morning.
Yes.
Is it about the language, the lyrics being used combined with the type of music, the beats and such?
So again, we're using everything from classical music to rock music to country music to hip hop music to sound and frequency when they're detoxing. It's the encompassing of all. But what we're doing is we understand that everybody, whether they say it or not, associates to music, right?
Yeah.
Any human being that is breathing has been listening to music since before they were born. So if you people don't realize this, but we actually, when you're in the womb, you're hearing the heartbeat. You actually are hearing beats and a rhythm subconsciously. So we are taking that and bringing that all the way forward to where all of our groups, we have a open mic group on Wednesdays. We don't allow guests to come to this, but this is where you don't have to sing, you don't have to perform, but it's almost like a cathartic, therapeutic, part where people take the lyrics of their life and they speak it, or they can sing it, or they can rap it, or we had somebody that did it like a ESPN Sports Center interview. But it's that release through words in a rhythmic sense. Every Friday at every Recovery Unplugged throughout America, we have something called Feel Good Friday. One of the things we realized early on is a lot of people, especially on the substance abuse, the weekends were intense, right? Lots of drugs, lots of alcohol, or for people that were battling mental health, it was a lot of depression. They weren't getting out of bed. They didn't be around anybody. So every Friday afternoon, we do a Feel Good Friday concert where it's a performance. We're fortunate that, we have a Grammy award-winning singer-songwriter, Richie, in our Fort Lauderdale facility. But now in our Austin facility, a cool little side note, 4 clients of Recovery Unplugged that met in treatment, and this is not normal.
Okay.
Formed a band to be our Friday band and just got signed to Sony and they're making an album now. So we do have some pretty cool performers. We have Feel Good Friday at all of our facilities, and it's a 90-minute concert to bring people into the weekend feeling good.
Incredible.
99% of our clients are regular people, but we do work with Music Cares and the Sims Foundation, and we do have artists that come through. And I'm very, very, very proud that the winner of this year's The Voice in May, Adam David, was a former Recovery Unplugged client.
Wow, dude.
That's our Feel Good Friday band.
Yeah.
And just won with Michael Bublé, chose him on the group. He won the TV show The Voice this past May.
Incredible.
And is currently making an album and will be doing his first big event in 2 weeks, the Tortuga Music Festival. Yeah. He is one of the performers, and then he'll be on the tour this summer.
Was he musically inclined as he came in?
Yeah. So he is a musician already, happened to live in Fort Lauderdale, had his own heroin issue, came to our program, loved what we were able to do so much, came back to work for us. And so again, we incorporate music, but I try to make the point, even though the winner of The Voice did cover Recovery Unplugged, and 4 alumni did start a band, the other 99% of us are not musically inclined.
Got it. So it works for anyone, everyone, even if you're not musically inclined, it works. There's science around this too, like the idea of the vagus nerve, which I've been studying for the past few years, like the whole nature of humming and singing, how it engages the parasympathetic nervous system to versus the flight or fright nervous system toward making better choices, being more sourceful, being more grounded. There's a whole lot of science behind this. Things that Tony Robbins talked about many years ago, except you've systemized this in a way that creates impact. It's organized. I'm curious. So how do you deal with triggers? So some people, there are certain songs that might create a trigger toward addiction. Maybe certain songs, maybe they had, there's songs that when I was in college, I listened to Fish, and my some of my classmates, we smoked pot, right? And it brings me back to those memories of that, right? And it's one of the reasons why I don't listen to certain music, because it triggers that idea. How do you engage? I'm sure with intake form, that's where a lot of this comes in. But would you like to share? How do you deal with
we
those
teach our
triggers?
Clients? Yes, of course. My roommate in college traveled and followed Fish. One of the Recovery Unplugged board members and investors has been to 400 Fish shows, so I'm familiar. Trey from Fish is now in recovery and has a high-end treatment center in Vermont now, or New Hampshire, something like that. So we teach and allow people to learn the best mechanisms to move through feelings, not just coping, but move through the feelings. We also write musical prescriptions so that when you have certain feelings, when you have a trigger, whether it's a old song that you used to get high to, or a fight with your spouse, or a fight with your coworker, or you watch the news and you're sad, we have musical prescriptions to our clients.
Mm.
In addition to actual medication prescriptions, we have, like I said, MAT and MAT, medication assisted treatment, music assisted treatment. We have musical prescriptions, which remind people to stay in the present, call your sponsor, go to a meeting. So when you have a trigger that could associate or bring back a negative feeling, we have different songs just for you to bring back the right or better feeling so you can move through it.
Yeah.
Not just cope with it, move through it. That's listen, one of my original ideas that wasn't my original idea, but in my brain it was, is keep moving forward.
Mm.
How do we have people keep moving forward?
Mm.
Which is the same thing as the fire walk.
Mm.
You take the first step, you can't turn around.
Mm.
Right? I've done 19 fire walks at this point in my life. It is ironic that I was in a propane explosion 4 years ago and could no longer walk on fire. But I tell people that fire walking is safe and empowering, and having a family barbecue could kill you. Barbecue. And
by the way, I've been on the fire team many times and been 20 years, been crewing that community, and it's been a lot of joy. And the propane incident was at a barbecue, it wasn't at a firewalk. So
no, but it was at my house. I tell people barbecuing can be dangerous and almost killed me, but firewalking is safe and empowering. But the idea of it is that you keep moving forward. It's all about you keep moving forward. And for me, I attribute that 25 years of training before I was blown up to why I'm alive today. Because I was able to use when I was in the hospital, I put, two things. One, I was able to use my own brain to get through the most excruciating pain of my life. Yeah. Two, one of the things that we've done at Recovery Unplugged since day one is we don't just use music for our clients. We use music for our staff. So we make sure that if you're walking through any Recovery Unplugged, any day of the week, middle of the morning, middle of the night, there's different music playing that the nurses will put on for themselves. Because we know that the calmer and happier our nurse and our staff is, the better they feel, the better they are with our clients. So when I was in the ER, once I was conscious, because I was unconscious for a couple of days in the ICU, when I was in the burn unit, I would ask every one of my nurses what their favorite music was when they had to clean the skin on my burns that was not fun. Yeah. This is what we do at Recovery Unplugged. I put it into play in the hospital. And I remember the one nurse loved Enrique Iglesias and one nurse liked Metallica. So, but I would play that for them while they were with me. And it was literally night and day to the type of good care that I got. So we've been able to prove this at Recovery Unplugged. I've proved this personally, and it does work.
The language, affirmations, and things that go into it make a difference, especially if we can personalize that to an individual. It brings me back to my wife and I did CPR years ago before our daughter was born, and my wife's a physician, she's an endocrinologist. Oh, wow. And the song was Staying Alive, right? And that the beat of that song is often the beat they teach in these classes to as far as pushing on the chest to bring a person back to life, essentially. So it's like Staying Alive, that John Travolta song from the 70s. Music can go a long way. It's also the words that are said in songs are incantations. We sing it, we sing in the shower, and it can make a difference toward shifting our positive state. Incredible, absolutely incredible, all of that. I'm glad you're recovered from that whole experience, and you use that technology that you've learned, you've internalized, and you've also impacted the staff.
I figured out how to move forward. I have permanent nerve damage in my feet, so when people see me, it's a joke that I wear a suit on stage, but I still wear flip flops because anything on my foot still hurts. But I've been able to figure out how to move forward through the day. I utilize my brain and what I've learned over the years and music, because I prefer not to take nerve medication, so I don't. But I keep going forward, and that's what I do.
Love it, brother. I love it. A lot in common as far as that goes. Yes. Incredible.
Thank you.
Let's talk about AI. I know you're integrating AI into the work. I've also found it's fascinating with how one can kind of create their own songs and use their own affirmations or words toward creating music. It fascinates me. Even their own voice, 11 Labs and some of the tools, Suno.com. How are you leveraging AI and technology. I know you've got at least two other ventures that are involved, right? Like out of leveraging technology
Yes.
as a means toward impacting people even beyond Recovery Unplugged or with Recovery
Yeah.
Unplugged.
So one of the things we did about 2 years ago was after COVID, we launched our online intensive outpatient therapy. Somebody's done with our inpatient treatment. They do IOP, intensive outpatient therapy, 3 hours, 3 days a week. And what we realized was most people can handle it. And some people, when they're not in the room, they don't feel as comfortable on Zoom. They don't engage as much. So we helped build an AR/VR therapy platform where you have human therapists, human people in a virtual world, and that's called Good Thoughts. We launched it at Recovery Unplugged. We've been testing it. It's working fantastic for people that want to remain anonymous until they don't, and for people to remain engaged to be able to do this intensive outpatient therapy. They can create an avatar of who they believe they are or who they want to be, and go to therapy there. What we've now done with Good Thoughts is that's individualized group therapy 3 days a week. What we've now done is we partner with another group to take AI software so that people can do guided meditations. So if you're doing group therapy 3 days a week, you can now go into the VR and do guided meditations with AI the other 4 days a week and work on yourself until you come back to the group. So that's been amazing. Took a little bit longer than I wanted it to, but that's how tech is with software. It's
Yes.
moving much faster now. And then more recently, at Recovery Unplugged, we now have almost 30 full-time people, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in our life saving center. And even with our amazing humans, and they are, we're getting almost 15,000 calls a month. 85% of those calls we can't even help. But my goal is to help every person that reaches out online or on the call. So we built an agentic AI to help just answer the call, make sure we don't miss a call.
Yeah.
57 versions later, that led to the ability for us to answer calls, have empathetic conversations with people so that our humans can then get on the phone and help them. And that led to a company called RVK AI, which is now helping dozens of other behavioral health facilities not miss a call and help more people. And so that's one of the areas where if we miss just one call, two things. First and foremost, that's somebody that needs help.
Yeah.
And if we don't help them, that could be their life.
Yeah.
And two, the amount of money it costs to market, you're losing, potential what you just spent money to market your company for. So that's on that side. Internally, we now have all of our therapists, and we have amazing, amazing, caring, loving therapists. And the only way that they're able to get paid for their session and stay in business is if they have the correct notes. So now we have HIPAA compliant AI taking all the notes for our therapists, which has been completely revolutionary in allowing them to actually focus on the patient and have the notes taken for them. So we are using AI with all of our therapy. We're using AI, like I said, answering calls. We're using AI to make sure that all of our billing is done and be getting paid correctly along the way. So we are now have incorporated AI into literally everything we do so that our humans can be more efficient in saving more lives. And that's really the key. We actually have another technology that's being implemented in April that helps look at another HIPAA compliant AI, lower the AMA, people leaving against medical advice that can see in the data potential red flags before we can. So, from what we've done, we built Good Thoughts at Recovery Unplugged, we built RVKI at Recovery Unplugged, and now I'm looking every day. That's why I went to Abundance 360 last week. Was what's out there that is going to allow us to help save more lives more efficiently. And that's the key with technology. People are afraid, and there's lots of things to be afraid of in life like that. But for me, it's the technology is here. It's only getting better. And how can we positively use it to impact and save more lives?
Yeah, it's like the internet back 30 years ago.
Correct.
Okay, it revolutionized things, make connected things, resources, and AI is that and more. If you're willing to see it, if it's used for the good, and you are indeed using it for good.
Thank you.
I'm loving it. I'm a technologist. It's my background, and we use it for different aspects of matching, pairings, connections, just looking at data, and um, it's inspiring. It's inspiring how you're being on top of what's happening next, right? Going to Abundance 360, being at the top of it, and finding ways to integrate that into what you're doing. How do you hold yourself to a high standard to um, keep innovating with what you're doing? And I'd love to also hear your why. What's your personal why in this moment now versus where it was 20 years ago?
I mean, look, as you know, and you adhere to, I'm pretty self motivated.
Hmm.
Even with the way I operate, I still believe in training and coaching. I still go to UPW every year. Sean Callaghy from Unblinded is my personal coach. I have AG and Fernando from Unblinded training and coaching my team. I believe in constant and never ending improvement. Whatever I did great yesterday, amen. And what can I do better today and tomorrow?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so it's all about the thought process of move forward and save more lives. And so for me, being able to see the positive impact that I've made, being able to have my kids have their nana, my mother in law, who me and everybody else at one point was just like, this is not going to end well. And to see her transformation, to see several of my other friends and family members transformation, to see the employees that are running my company, now go from where they are to where they are. That's what keeps me going every day, is that it's not a concept that this may work. I have human living proof of people
and
that
thousands of
were
case studies.
at the worst of the worst, that everybody had given up on, that the system had given up on, that are now here. I have the winner of the TV show The Voice that was like dead, literally,
Yeah.
and brought back to life and alive. So, you know, so that's what keeps me going every day, to know that the world we're living in, everybody says, the prevailing thought of the world's always been crazy, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I still believe we're living in the best time in history.
absolutely,
I
absolutely.
still believe that we have the ability to do good with technology.
Yeah.
There will always be good and bad. There will always be good and evil.
And where focus goes, energy flows, as we've
That's
learned.
correct. I focus on how we can help make a positive impact every day, how I can take who I know to help, and the worlds that I'm in with Abundance or Tony or Unblinded or the Founders Network, which has been amazing, that I've been part of the last 2 years in Silicon Valley, and learn from these people that have done things differently, and take what I've learned to help grow what we're doing, which it doesn't just impact the person. One of the things I was talking about last week, and somebody else asked me, like, how many people have been affected by what you do? I said, well, we're just past 22,000 lives that we've, saved, recovery, and flood. He says, but how many families has that affected? So now it's like the ripple effect of those 22,000 individuals is hundreds of thousands of people.
Probably millions, right? I mean, if you look at it, it's probably millions, because it's families and who they connect with, and having somebody who's an addict can be very challenging. It's affected my mom's 3 brothers, right? It's affected their families, their kids, generationally. Part of it, you mentioned, is genetic, but a lot of it is habitual and also environment.
It's both. It's both. I mean, the environment, I know plenty of people that have parents that love them, that aren't alcoholics, that they became them. And then I have others that I've seen from the family that it was, grandma, mom, or grandpa, dad. It comes down. So, we're all predisposed. And the question is how you're going to just move forward.
Exactly. And part of it's having a purpose, having a mission. I love how you're integrating AI into all you're doing, embracing it, being on top of things. It's very, very, very inspiring to hear all that, Andrew. Fantastic.
Thank you.
What are so we're almost at the end of our session today. I'd be very curious. You said you're intrinsically motivated, right? You've got that personal compass that drives you forward. What are some rituals you embrace each day to keep you engaged, either morning or evening? Do you do cold plunges? What do you do each day to kind of wake you up, to keep you on mission? And of course, what's And now my next question is, what's next for you? So
Yeah.
what would be like 22,000 people being impacted positively, 650 employees, um, growing these other two ventures, virtual reality, AI. Like, what's next for you? What'll like? I know we're taught to not review things in like 10 years, 20 years, like usually like 3 months to a year, because things are always changing, innovating. AI is like just going berserk now in terms of what's possible now with agentic AI. I'd love to hear the rituals that like really cause you each day
Sure.
to step up, and then what's next for you.
So I pray every morning.
Hmm.
So I put on my tefillin every morning and I thank God and do that ritual prayer. I kind of combine things together.
Yeah.
People joke. I have a biocharger in my house that I got right after
Hmm.
my accident. So, it's got a Tesla coil and it's a PEF machine. So people joke that it's walked into my house in the
That's
morning.
that's Scott Tenn's company, correct?
That's a biomodulator. I also have
Oh,
a biomodulator
yes,
separately. That's
yes.
Scott Bennett's company. I love Scott. I actually just read his book, The Alpha Closer, on the flight home the other day and texted him that. But the biocharger I use every morning while I'm praying. People ask me if it connects me higher, which is kind of funny. Um, every morning I use the 5 minute journal, which I have right here. It's my favorite thing. I've given out 300 of them that I learned from Tim Ferriss years ago. And that what the 5 minute journal does for my brain is I write down 3 things I'm grateful for, 3 things I want to accomplish for the day in my mission statement every day. So
Yeah.
even though everything happens, right? Kids, family, business, by writing down what I'm grateful for, you can't be angry and grateful. You know that,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
assume your team knows, or people listening to that. But by writing down my 3 goals of the day, even with everything else that happens, it still happens, but it remains to keep me focused.
Yeah.
And then every night I write 3 great things that happened and 2 things that I learned. And so for me, the rituals are I wake up, I pray, I practice my gratitude, I do my 5 minute journal. And then every night I listen to some Esther Hicks, Law of Attraction, sometimes from Jack Canfield, sometimes from Tony. I listen to something
Yeah.
every night right before I go to sleep uh, to just put my brain in the right state, right? Because again, I'm dealing with on a daily basis people in serious need. We do a great job and save a lot of lives, but some people don't make it. I have friends and family all over the world impacted by everything going on all over the world,
Yeah.
and so that can that can play on you. But if I start my day with gratitude and my end my day with something from the personal development world, for me, that allows me to be me and keep moving forward.
God, I love it. Love it. We've all got to embrace the rituals, habits that keep us engaged, moving forward. It's about making progress, not going backward. I
Correct.
love how you got simple practice end your day to kind of fuel your mind, because our mind's always working even when we go to sleep. It's going to have our dreams
Correct.
work for us or work against us, and a lot of it is getting into the mindset of abundance and impact. So I love it. Extraordinary. What's next for you as far as these ventures? What would be so going into your 50s and 60s, and I know you're in your 40s now, what would be next for you to see? Where do you want to see all this go?
So just from after last week, I'm not going to extrapolate my 60s. I'll be 47 in a couple months. So like
Mhm.
I could look out maybe 3 years at this point.
Yeah.
I'll make it, God willing, to my 50s, 60s, 70s. But like I can't predict that. What I could say is this: my goal right now and my goals right now is to have a greater impact at Recovery Unplugged
Mhm.
in um, expanding our online ability to help more people, right? So when people come to our inpatient facility and they go home, and there's a lot of people out there that may not need the higher levels of care. So we currently, we had about 100, then 200. Now we have a little over 250 people a day doing our online intensive outpatient program.
Yeah.
My goal is for that to be 1,000,
A day.
500,
Yeah.
by the end of this year, and then 1,000 in the next 18 months a day on that program. And then being able to allow the AI to positively impact what we're doing, truly grow what we're doing there. So I have a lot of people being able to, grow our intensive outpatient at Recovery Unplugged, grow the good thoughts ability for, I believe that any age could use virtual reality, but I believe that there's a ton, not a ton, there's millions of youth that are really struggling right now that could be positively impacted and help them set them up for the rest of their life utilizing the VR with good thoughts.
Yeah.
And so just starting off with that, this summer is working with some different nonprofits to help fund some youth mental health programs with the technology that I built. And then on RVK is just to allow other people in the behavioral health business to utilize this technology to make sure they never miss a call and help save more lives.
Incredible. I love it. My friend, you are somebody who is actively focused on creating impact in the world, right? And you've got 20 years of time putting into that whole model.
Yes.
It's beyond inspiring to see someone else in this journey doing the
Thank
work
you.
you're doing, especially in that world of addictions and challenges and PTSD and the things people deal with. A lot of these are human problems, and I'm just in awe of what you created, and also the nature of leadership, servant leadership, and also how you're inviting people to come back in to serve and get involved again, make a career out of it. Just extraordinary, really is. You're on top of things, just constantly innovating, very inspiring.
Thank you.
So, how do people connect with you? So there's recoveryunplugged.com.
Yeah,
How do
I mean,
people?
look, one thing that I tell people that's most important is no matter what you are dealing with, no matter what your family member is dealing with, your friends dealing with, we can help. Recoveryunplugged.com, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have humans, we have AI, we have everybody in between, but we will help, whether it's on a chat, whether it's on a phone call, anybody struggling with any type of mental health or addiction issue anywhere in America, even if I don't have a place there, we will find a place for you to get help right now. And that's the key.
If a musician wants to get involved and contribute to your mission, like there are a lot of extraordinary musicians out there. You mentioned one of the leaders in Aerosmith and out there in Florida. How does a musician get involved to contribute to your process to really help people that way?
Several different ways. We've had lots of different musicians perform at our facilities and just come tell their story to our clients. We have had that, over the years with multiple different people in every genre of music, and they can reach out to me, directly. We also have a elsewhere program for musicians on tour, specifically for musicians on tour to help their artists. Sometimes it's a musician themselves or one of the roadies that need a higher level of care that we now provide with Recovery Unplugged through the Elsewhere program. But they can reach out to me, Andrew.Sasson at recoveryunplugged.com, or LinkedIn or Facebook, or it's not hard to find me.
Great. We'll make sure those links, those contacts, those details are on the podcast notes. For our audience out there, check out the podcast, the mind map, the summary, the notes from this episode at rulesforsuccess.com. Check out what Andrew's doing at recoveryunplugged.com. Support him on his mission. He's already rocking it on multiple levels. I'm excited to see all of this go to the next level, right? Go to millions of people, right? Or tens of millions of people. This is exciting. Rulesforsuccess.com to access this and more. And